Hello, everybody. Welcome to Moment of Clarity. I just checked out this stimulus bill and the COVID relief bill, and I gotta say, it's awesome. It's awesome. It's awesome. It's so awesome. It's honestly, because if you're like me and you're rooting for reality to turn into just like a giant fucking comedy show that's just it's so fucking horrific, but it's hilarious at the same time. Then like a Shaun of the Dead kind of comedy where it's like everyone's dying and getting eaten and it's just fucking awful. And you're like, oh, half my friends are dead. But at the same time, like Shaun of the Dead, hilarious movie, hilarious. So if you're rooting for that kind of reality, then this is the bill for you. This COVID relief bill is amazing. Oh my God. It's like Congress is now just full on, just like trolling us. They're just like, let's see what happens if we wait months to put out a relief bill to help struggling people, and we make 60 pages of it about racehorses. Let's just see. No, put it in there. Let's see what happens. Because that's what this is. I get. There's no way Congress, whoever it was that was actually writing some of this. There's no way they were not sitting in that boardroom going, put it in there, see if they notice. It's honest. I'm going to get into some of the details here in a second. It is too funny to be wow. Okay. I'm going to get into some of the details. People have broken it down. I've read little bits and pieces of it. I'm not fucking reading 6,000 pages. It's nearly 6,000, whatever, 5,500 pages. It's fucking insane. And part of that is on purpose because they know they gave it to Congress, the people in Congress who were not on the inserting their own shit in there. They gave it to them with like hours to read 5,000-6,000 pages and decide whether they were going to like hold up the vote because they found out there's stuff on racehorses in it. Look, we can all agree that through this whole thing, since the day the pandemic started, we were like, listen, let's just figure out what we're doing with the racehorses. If we can give people with racehorses a tax break, I think we're all going to get through this okay. I think we all knew from day one that this was really about the racehorses and about the racehorse owners, not just the racehorses, but their owners, because that's who's hurting the most right now is people who own racehorses. I think we can all agree on that one. Okay, I'm going to get into some of the details here. Some great journalists have broken it down. I let them read this shit because I'm not doing it. I'm not fucking doing it. I'm not. You go read 6,000 pages of garbage, neoliberal, neocon, imperialist horseshit. Horseshit. You go do that, okay? Because I'm not doing it. But I will read these journalists who have done that. So, Tony's mentioning that Mitt Romney has a racehorse. I think Mitt Romney has a racehorse. One of them, maybe it was Mitt Romney, also had a dressage horse, right? The ones that fucking dance. Because if there's anything more elitist than being a racehorse owner, it's being a fucking dressage horse owner. Fucking incredible. Anyway, please share this feed. Let people know about it. Please share it on your social media thingies and click subscribe. If you're over at Facebook, please come over to youtube.com/Moment of Clarity and hit subscribe. That helps a lot. All right. So I'm going to start out by showing you what Rashida Tlaib said about this bill. I think she made a good point. Here is what she said. This plan leaves people behind. It has no support for adult dependents, no hazard pay for essential workers, no student loan relief, no recurring stimulus payment, no retroactive unemployment insurance, no water shutoff moratorium, no aid to states and local governments. How fucking incredible is that? How incredible is that? To just look at that list and be like, yeah, they did some real good with this. They really care about the American people. They really do. Considering it has none of these things, none of them. And then, of course, what does it have? Yeah, it has the relief check of $600 to people making less than $75,000. $600, which means if you, I can't remember who tweeted this, but if you took the $1,200 initial check and the $600 upcoming check, and you put them together into $1,800, did the math myself, and you put them together, and you were to break that up over the days since the first lockdown started, that would equal $6.69 a day. That's what Congress has given you. $6.69 a day. And I don't think they don't know that's what the number is. Okay, I think they intended that to be a 69 because they're fucking you in the face right now. They meant for that number to be 69. Anyway, $6. I'll even round up. $7 a fucking day is what they think you're worth. And as I showed on the last episode, I showed Robert Reich's Twitter tweet about how other countries, they're giving their people like 100% of lost wages, or France is like 84% or 90% of lost wages. A lot, even the UK is like 80% of lost wages. The US, 0% of lost wages. They're not covering people who are sitting home right now because we're in the middle of a goddamn pandemic. No. Our Congress, American Congress, is too busy putting tons of shit in this bill to continue our wars of regime change, our wars around the world. That's what's in this bill, and I'm going to get into those details in a second. But yeah, $6.69 a day. So I hope for if you're one of these people that's like, thank you, Congress, you really stood up for us. I hope you've enjoyed your $6.69. I think you can go out and celebrate. You get a big, you could go out with your $6 and you could have a big, chicken McNuggets. I don't know how many. I think it'd probably get you 8 or 12, maybe even more than that. But still, you get a whole little bushel, little bucket of chicken McNuggets, and you can celebrate all that money that Congress is giving you while they give money to people that own fucking racehorses. All right, so one of the journalists that I'm going to be featuring here is Alex Rubinstein. I recommend you follow him. He does good work. A bunch of his work nowadays is with the Gray Zone. So first, I'm going to show you what he tweeted. This is in his article from the Gray Zone, but this is one of the funniest things. The new stimulus bill appropriates $3 million for Hong Kong rioters. They stipulated that the rioters in Hong Kong get $3 million while average Americans are struggling. 1 out of every 3 American adults, say that they've had trouble paying bills or buying food in the past few weeks. 1 out of every 3. Meanwhile, we're giving money to Hong Kong rioters. And by the way, I'm not going to get into all the details of Hong Kong. I've done it before, but it's not that there aren't people in Hong Kong that genuinely want a different government or want a different system or things like that. There are, but a lot of the leaders of that movement are fucking U.S.-backed NGOs, like USAID and shit like that. So Yeah, they're, but we're meanwhile funding that stuff because the U.S. government believes it hurts China, so we run around funding shit like that rather than, I don't know, letting a country have their own sovereignty. Like, that's an idea. Like, let them do their own fucking thing, and we don't have to go in there with our goddamn imperialism and just fund neo-Nazis and shit like we're doing in the Ukraine, which. Sorry, is it Ukraine now? I think they changed it. Like we're doing in Ukraine, well, I'll get into that in a minute about, our lovely neo-Nazi friends in Ukraine. But okay, let's go over to Alex's article. And so this is Alex Rubenstein at the Gray Zone. Title, COVID-19 Catch-22. Regime change policies come packed with U.S. pandemic relief. And so they mainly focus, there's a lot of fucking idiot shit in this bill. I'll talk about some of the other stuff in a bit. But his article focuses on mainly the regime change stuff. But here's some of what, I'm going to go through some of what it says. So there's tens of billions of dollars for war, weapons, and regime change abroad, from anti-Russia and anti-China initiatives to $3.3 billion, billion with a B, as in holy fucking balls, billion with a B, $3.3 billion for Israel's military. So when you're upset that Congress has not given enough money to these type of things, to actually helping people in America, to actually making sure people have homes, stay in their homes, to making sure that all these tent cities that are popping up around the U.S., that those people actually have homes. When that's pissing you off, keep in mind they sent in this last bill, not in general, but in this last bill, they're sending over $3 billion, $3.3 billion to Israel's military. Because Israel's military has really been struggling. They've really been having a hard time. They needed a rock catcher to stop the Palestinians. They were hoping to. They're investing in I think it was $400 million rock catcher. It's a big net, and it catches all the rocks. Because before they had like a $100 million one, and the rocks would just get through. They get through. Because the net, it depends on the size of the holes in the net. The rocks will get through. So they got this one much better rock catcher they're investing in now. Moving on in his same article. Well, first of all, I should say it passed through the House 359-53. So all but 53 voted for this bill. Passed through the Senate 92-6. 6. We got 6 senators that didn't vote for this bill. And by the way, I'm sure most of those are probably right-wingers who are like, it's bad for the deficit to do anything, which is laughable. I mean, and by the way, I will talk about how I will say sometimes, like, these are your tax dollars going to this. These are your tax dollars paying the Israeli military. These are your tax dollars that are going to create riots in Hong Kong or to help neo-Nazis in Ukraine. I will say that because in a sense, it's true. We do send our tax dollars to the government, and they do use them for these things. However, we also can print all the fucking money we want, as we've proven time and again. It's not like they wait around to see if your tax check is going to come in. There's not senators and Congress people standing at the mailbox going, did it get here? Did it get here? And then they open it up and they're like, did Carl Roberts check for $85? We got it. We got Carl's check. And then they go running, and then they find, the ambassador for Israel, and they're like, here, take it to go fund your military. We got it. We got Carl's check. It just came just right now. Here it is. No, there's not a direct, your tax dollars go to this, but I think it's important to understand. And so I'll use the terminology. It's important to understand that this is supposed to be our government. These are supposed to be the decisions for us, the American people. Okay, so I don't think we should lose that understanding of it. Okay, so it pumps billions of dollars into, by the way, this is a terminology thing. I love when they use euphemisms. It pumps billions of dollars into democracy programs. You know, to our democracy programs. You don't know how good America is with democracy. Even though a large Harvard study found we had the worst democracy in the Western world. But apparently our democracy is working so well, as we saw with, the primaries, 2 election cycles in a row being rigged against Bernie Sanders. Our democracy is going so well, and it's so awesome, and it's so totally not bought off that we go to other countries and we help them get democracy. Even though we provide aid to 70% of the dictatorships in the world, apparently we love democracy. And so we go over to help countries with democracy. Now, of course not. Democracy programs, anytime you see democracy facilitation or democracy programs or democracy education, it's all code for our regime change horseshit. That's what it is. Okay, there's nothing to do with democracy. They're not showing people how to vote. They don't send teachers over. America parachutes in teachers who have like a little voting box, a little ballot box, and they're like, "Here's how it works, guys." They just parachute them into China, holding their little ballot box, like, "We're gonna show them how to put the votes in." No. We fucking train people on creating regime change. We create color revolutions in nations around the world. We've seen it again and again and again. Sometimes some of these revolutions or let's just say protests, they start genuinely in a country. There were genuine protests in most countries that we go in and then try and create a failed state. Of course, it's almost every country is going to have protests because there are going to be people upset with the way any country is run. And so we go in and we find where these protests are, and then we try and create a failed state, or we try and put in our puppet regime. In Ukraine, we helped the neo-Nazis to put in this current government that is neo-Nazi friendly. Good old friend of neo-Nazi. By the way, another report. I don't have the, maybe I'll take the time to fucking pull up the headline for you guys. But the U.S. just the other day voted against declaring Nazis like a bad thing. It's taking too long to load. Anyway, you can look it up. We've done this multiple years in a row. There's a bill put forward to basically stop the glorification of Nazis, or to at least frown upon it. Right? This UN thing. I think what they put forward is not like binding. It doesn't like make talking about neo-Nazis illegal or anything. But it's basically the UN saying we would like to stop the glorification of Nazis, if you don't mind. And the U.S. is one of 2 countries to vote against it. Several countries abstain. Several countries in Europe abstain from the vote. But the U.S. and the other grand country that joins us in voting against stopping the glorification of Nazis is, do you want to take a moment to guess who the awesome, amazing country is that joins us? I know many of you are probably saying on your screen, Israel. No, on this one, it is Palau. Yeah, our good old buddy Palau joins us in being like, we love Nazis. Anyway, I don't know what we did to Palau. We must have fucking threatened them or something to make them go with us on that. But anyway, moving on in this article. So we've got our democracy programs, a lot of money in this bill, in this stimulus bill, which, it really does stimulate our economy to give a bunch of money away to other countries to try and recreate regime change there, doesn't it? Don't you feel a little boost in like your day and your personal economics every time we send billions of dollars to foreign militaries and to create coups? So let's see what else we got here. So On the so-called democracy programs, this is again from Alex Rubinstein's article. On the so-called democracy programs alone, the legislation appropriates $2.4 billion and $6.17 billion on, quote, foreign military financing programs. Another $112 million is appropriated for international military education training. Isn't that what you thought during this pandemic too? You were like, I feel like America could deal with this pandemic a lot better if we just had foreign military education training in other countries. If we could get through this if we just had that. $6 billion more is allocated toward the domestic procurement of U.S. Air Force missiles and U.S. Navy weapons of war. This is in addition to the $740 billion defense bill passed earlier in December. So keep in mind, this is separate from our defense bill. This is in addition to our defense bill. I want to take a moment here to show you something Alan McLeod tweeted, which I think exemplifies what the fuck this bill is about. Alan McLeod, another great journalist. You should look him up. He does a lot of writing for Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting, fair.com or .org or whatever. And he also writes for Mint Press often. Mint Press, great outlet. So here's some word search research Alan McLeod did. The word missile appears 19 times in the COVID relief bill. The word aircraft appears 208 times. Munition, 46 times. Weapon, 46 times. Healthcare, only 24 times. Doctor or nurse, 5 times. Masks, 0. Now, I think maybe the most impressive one, because masks, there could be other words for that, like personal protective gear or whatever, but you go from weapons at 46 times and munitions at 46 times. So if you were to combine those, you'd get a larger number that I'm going to guess is 92. Munition and weapons, 92 times. Healthcare, 24. This is a COVID relief bill, for fuck's sake. It's a COVID relief bill, and they can't squeeze the word healthcare in there a little more. And of course, it's not about the number of times that healthcare is said. It goes to show what really matters in this bill. Fucking munitions and weapons, 92 times. Healthcare, 24. And I think that ratio is about right. This bill is about 3-4 times as much about weapons and war and foreign policy than it is about healthcare, or it is about helping you. It is a fucking laughingstock bill that is, honestly, I swear they're like challenging us. Like, let's see if the American people will honestly put up with this shit. Let's see how long they're willing to sit there and struggle and face eviction with tens of millions of Americans facing eviction, with tens of millions of Americans worried about where their food's going to come from this week. Tens of millions of Americans unemployed, and we're going to send them $600 checks while we give the Israeli military $3.3 billion. While we give countries around the world billions to try and create coups in countries we don't like, or to try and shore up the militaries we do like, as if the Israeli military needs shoring up. So that was Alan McLeod made that point. Let's see, to continue with Alex Rubinstein's article, and perhaps the most bizarre appeal to regime change activist lobby, an entire section of the bill is devoted to defining U.S. policy, quote, regarding the succession or reincarnation of the Dalai Lama. Did you follow that? It literally says reincarnation of the Dalai Lama in the bill. In the bill. It was honestly, it said basically like to figure out where we stand on the reincarnation of the Dalai Lama. Like, please tell me this is a prank. Please tell me this is early April Fools. Please tell me that fucking who was the clown, the douchebag Ashton Kutcher has come out of whatever fucking hedge fund he's running, and he's recreated punked, and he's punking everybody in America with this bill. He got Congress to go along with it. Remember, he would sometimes get celebrities to go along with it. So maybe he got Congress to go along with it. And we're like, this will be hilarious. So I'm just waiting for the moment when Ashton Kutcher comes running out and goes, bah! Because that would make a lot more sense right now. That would make a lot more sense. All right. Let's keep going here for a few more minutes, and then I have another point on things that are not foreign policy related, on some other horrific things this bill has done or is doing, which is crazy. But let's see. They have 33, not less than $33 million. I love when they put "not less" in the bill. Not less than $33 million shall be made available for democracy programs in Venezuela. There's that word again. Democracy programs. Have you noticed how much we've been helping Venezuela learn about democracy? Considering international observers go there and say theirs is better than ours, theirs is more legit than ours. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed they don't have any fucking electors that decide whether our votes fucking matter? Should be the goddamn popular vote. What are the elected? The whole electoral college was put in there to stop, the poor, the non-landowning, the non-white people from mattering in these elections. Anyway, we're spending $33 million to go help Venezuela with their democracy program. So where does that money end up going? It goes to try and create a coup in Venezuela, right? We've been doing that for years. We've been trying to bring down Venezuela because they're socialists, because they have a lot of oil, because they're outside our central banking system. The oil is a lesser thing. We would love to steal their oil, but we're fracking the fuck out of our own land. So we honestly have oil. It's really more about the fact that they're socialist and they're outside our central banking zone, and they're not within our imperialist tentacles. So we got to bring down Venezuela. Well, how do we do that? We've tried a lot of things. We had that ridiculous Three Stooges mercenary act where it was like 60 some mercenaries tried to get into Venezuela, and they were caught before they even made it to the land, and 8 of them were killed and they were imprisoned. And anyway, that was coordinated by a U.S. former Green Beret, and probably signed off on by Mike Pompeo. But, he doesn't like to talk about that now. Juan Guaido is their fake president that remember, he's the guy who's never received a single vote for presidency in Venezuela, but declared himself president. And Donald Trump and Nancy Pelosi gave him a standing ovation at this past year's fucking State of the Union. Okay? That's what kind of clowns we have in this government. And anyway, so where does that $33 million go? Probably a lot of it goes to line Juan Guaido's pockets, and his goons. So we send that $33 million to them. Meanwhile, you get a check for $600. That sounds fair. Sounds fair, doesn't it? There's $433 million appropriated for assistance to Ukraine, $290 million for, quote, countering Russia, $173 million for NATO, $132 million for NATO ally Georgia. Of the $6 billion appropriated for funding foreign militaries, $3.3 million, more than half, shall be available for grants only for Israel. $6 billion for foreign militaries, 3.3, half goes to Israel. Oh, by the way, I mentioned those number of mentions of various words in the bill. The word Iran is in there 22 times. You've got healthcare 24 times and Iran 22 times. Basically the same amount. Which one do you think is more important during a fucking pandemic when everyone's lost their jobs or is struggling? Do you think it's Iran? Do you think that's really where our money and our thought and our effort and our energy needs to go? These fucking idiots. Oh, and by the way, I think I've probably already made this clear, but the U.S. in our democracy promotion, we don't give a shit who's repressing, oppressing their people, who's repressive, how terrible the government is. We give aid to 70% of the dictatorships around the world. So every time you hear that, Russia is oppressing activists, which they may be doing, wouldn't surprise me. China is going after activists, which they may be doing. Wouldn't surprise me. But every time you hear the U.S. government saying that about another country, just remember that we love repressive governments. We love Saudi Arabia. We're allies with Egypt and Ukraine and all these places where they're doing god-awful things. Colombia, where they've murdered more environmental activists than any other country. Colombia in recent years. Colombia is we love them. They're running around murdering environmental activists, and we love them. Egypt, which get some aid, quote unquote aid in this bill. Egypt's military, notorious for its repressive crackdowns on dissent, is due to receive $1.3 billion. Egypt's military. Yeah, we're the good people. We're helping a lot of people get through this. We really are. Thank goodness we have these Congress people doing their jobs, really looking out for you and me. Thank goodness our system isn't bought out by corporate interests. It really is. It's good to see. Bought out by corporate interests and apparently racehorse owners. Racehorse owners are very prominent, apparently, in Congress. Could someone please out whoever the fucking congressman was that crammed in all the racehorse shit? Could that at least come out? So I did my own word search of the bill. I was going through this lovely, amazing bill. Amazing. Just wonderful, wonderful bill. And I thought I'd look for, I thought, what's important right now in our world? Obviously COVID relief. But what else is going on? What in fact is the number one, could be like, if the human race is going to go extinct in the coming years, this would be the number one suspect. This would be the most likely thing to cause just complete collapse of society. Climate change. Slightly important. Just slightly. We've lost 50% of all wildlife over the past 40 years. The insect population is collapsing. Climate change. Pretty important. So I went over to the bill and I thought, let's see how many times they say the word climate change. I mean, because clearly this bill is not just about COVID. It's about, or relief. It's about all kinds of things. A lot of it's about racehorses. Some of it's about the reincarnation of Dalai Lama. So here's the bill. And I did a search for climate change. And I did find one. Exactly one. There is one mention of climate change. And here's what it's about. It's about monitoring China. The activities of China likely contributing to climate change. And this section is saying the director of, the director of the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency shall do a research partnership in order to suss out what activities of China are likely contributing to climate change. Now, here's the thing. If they were doing that for like every country or for a lot of countries, then I'd be all for it. Yeah, let's find out how much each country is contributing to climate change. Let's really dig into that. If there was a lot about America's contribution to climate change, because we are the number one contributor to climate change, I'd be for that. But instead, this is it. This is the only mention of climate change in this 5,500 page bill that dumps money into all kinds of shit. Dumps money into every fucking thing that Congress wants to give money to, foreign governments, big banks and all the rest, weapons contractors. And the only mention of climate change is in use as propaganda against China. That's why they want it. Not because they want to do anything about climate change. Not because America wants to compare all of the things we're doing to stem climate change with the things China's doing. Merely because we want to use it as a propaganda tool to go after China, to go after our new adversary, the new Cold War we've created against Russia and China. And so it's going to be, the reason it's in that bill is to be used as a propaganda tool. Not because the American government wants to do shit about climate change. They don't. And in fact, if it weren't for the fact that they thought it could be used as a propaganda tool, it wouldn't be in that bill even once. But instead, there's one fucking mention of our impending extinction or what will likely cause it. There's one mention, and it's to be used as propaganda. So let's see. I have one or two more things here on this bill. The bill also is crammed in there is something designed to make a lot of streaming and meme sharing illegal, and in some cases highly illegal. So there's an article, I don't have it pulled up, but there's an article on Common Dreams about it. And here's a quote from that. The punitive provisions crammed into the enormous bill, warned Evan Greer of the digital rights group Fight for the Future. He said, quote, the provisions threaten ordinary internet users with up to $30,000 in fines for engaging in everyday activity, such as downloading an image and re-uploading it or sharing memes. And many sites that allow that type of thing could be facing a crazy amount of fines and prison time and everything else. So they claim they're going to focus on the sites. It's kind of like how they claim that they're with the marijuana, they're mainly going to focus on arresting the big marijuana companies under federal law, or the big groups, or the big drug dealers. But you'll notice that in our prisons right now are thousands of people, and over the past decades, millions of people that were arrested for like having a joint, for smoking a little bit of marijuana. So they may claim that it's only about going after the big ones, but that doesn't mean they won't go after the small ones. And it also would make, they're not even sure if it might make whole sites illegal. Here's another quote. This is from Mike Masnick at Tech Dirt. He wrote, because it's called the CASE Act. And the CASE Act, which is crammed in there, will supercharge copyright trolling. Copyright trolling is when a company with a lot of resources, or a person with a lot of resources, meaning millions and millions of dollars, if not billions, comes after small, average people that likely can't defend themselves in court to the tune of millions of dollars for corporate lawyers. And they say, I have a copyright for whatever, and you need to start paying me, or you need to shut down, or usually it's just pay me. And so the kind of one of the cases that made it that kind of gained copyright trolling some fame was when I don't know, somebody with a lot of resources came after podcasters. And they started out by going after some of the big podcasters like Mark Maron. Mark Maron used to talk about this on his show. And they basically said, I own a copyright for the initial podcast like design of podcasting. And you as a podcaster owe me, and then they gave them some kind of crazy rate, 50% of your revenue, or 25% or something, that for most podcasters, it's like, they're not making a lot, and paying someone else 50% would just end it. It would just collapse it. So the whole podcast industry was basically like could have been destroyed if this guy had won this lawsuit. And luckily, some of the bigger podcasters were able to raise funds to actually go up against him in court, and they won. And so podcasting still exists. But that's what copyright trolling is. These people they often buy up copyrights that they think they can use to then go after people. I've had copyright trolls come after me for like some image that was up from years ago, like 10 years ago on my website. And, you know, it's an image, someone posted a meme and I like reposted on my website. And they said, we own that image and send us, you know, $3,000 or something. And so I took down the image, but I stopped answering because I'm not going to give in to copyright trolls. But it's like, it's that kind of thing. They run around and just exploit people. So anyway, probably too much of an explanation of that. But Mike Masnick says, the CASE Act will supercharge copyright trolling exactly at the time when we need to fix the law to have less trolling. And the felony streaming bill, which was only just revealed last week with no debate or discussion, includes provisions that are so confusing and vague, no one is sure if it makes sites like Twitch into felons. Like the whole site could be just straight up felony charges. And that was crammed into this bill. So it makes a lot of streaming and a lot of posting of images and posting of material illegal. And I don't know the details of it. I don't know if it means that shows like this right now that I'm doing with you, like if I were to play a clip from a news show, I don't know if it means that would be illegal. Hopefully not. That's kind of the whole point of trying to analyze these mainstream media is to play the clips and show you what they're showing. But yeah, like they said, it's incredibly vague. It's incredibly dangerous. But all of these things show you who your Congress is. It shows you what they are, what matters to them, and the people that own them. And it really is a colossal joke that is designed to, I mean, here's my end conclusion, is that our government it's been captured by corporations and the big banks. I've been saying that forever, but it's a giant money laundering scheme, really. They go to Congress and they really just think of ways that they can enrich. We say they're friends, but really it's their owners. Enrich their friends, their ruling elite, their fellow ruling elite that own them, that fund their campaigns, enrich themselves as well. There's just tons of insider trading going on in Congress. They tried for a minute they passed something saying you can't insider trade, and then I think it was removed or whatever. And every time they try and go after someone for insider trading, like some of the people that sold a bunch of stock right before the pandemic happened, despite the fact they hadn't told the American people about the pandemic yet. Whenever they go after someone like that, they end up dropping the case because the people prosecuting it, they don't have the money or the passion to actually see it to a finale where they get someone, locked up or massive fines. And so it's a giant money laundering scheme. Congress, our government, takes in trillions of dollars in our taxes, and then they just give them to each other. Now, as I said earlier, it's not literally your taxes. They gave $4.25 trillion to Wall Street, and they didn't take in $4.25 trillion of taxes. So it's not like a direct analogy like that, but it is a giant money laundering scheme. They use America to enrich themselves more and more, increasingly, and the system that is supposed to be a check on that is supposed to stop that kind of thing, is intended to be our elections. If a congressperson were to do something that just enriches corporations and enriches the wealthiest in this country, then they get voted out next time around. That was the idea initially, maybe, whatever. It's ostensibly the idea, which is what we're told the idea is. You couldn't have a truly corrupt person because they get voted out. But now our elections are completely owned by the wealthy interests. There is no way, just about, except in some very rare, tiny instances, which are the exceptions that prove the fucking rule. People point to them and they go, look, Jamal Bowman got elected. Cori Bush got elected. So therefore, it shows it can work. And you're like, no, that's 2 people out of hundreds. It actually is the exception that proves the rule. Pointing to them is saying, look at how many are not them. Look at how much it is impossible. Look at how many so-called true progressives, or at least truer progressives, got outfunded, in the primaries. So they're kicked out in the primaries. So they don't even get to the general election. And billions of dollars now is spent on making sure that people who could actually create some sort of large-scale change of these systems never get into power. Billions of dollars. One man, Sheldon Adelson, spent $100 million in 2016 on that election. $100 million. That was the cost. That was the amount of money the entire Labour Party in the UK spent last time around. So one guy is spending what the Labour Party spends in the UK. That's how bought out our system is. And so in that way, when you have a captured Congress, a captured government like this, it is a money laundering scheme, and they are, or machine, money laundering machine, and they take Americans' money and they give it to each other. They give it to the ruling elite. And they use disasters via the shock doctrine to give more people more money, more of their ruling elite more money than usual. We're up to trillions of dollars now. And the $600 is basically them trying to figure out what is the least amount of money we could possibly give average Americans that would help them not actually have some sort of revolution, some sort of just mass protest. And I'm not talking about 2 hours where you show up and you hold your sign for 2 hours and you go home, and the police, you've gotten the permits from them ahead of time so that you can show up for 2 hours, because those don't create change. Large-scale change is created by hard work and a form of protest that is semi-tireless. You have to be devoted to it. And they know that Americans are struggling so much right now that they can't devote themselves to it. And that's also by design. They want people struggling, which is why the stock market's doing well right now, because corporations like when workers are struggling. When workers are struggling, they sign up for horrific jobs in the Amazon warehouse where people collapse and die sometimes, where people can't take bathroom breaks. They sign up for those kind of jobs. If you give people, let's say, universal basic income, let's say everybody was getting $1,200 a month, they don't sign up for those kind of jobs. They definitely, most people would still work, but they're not going to sign up for the type that is just pure exploitation. And the ruling elite don't want that. They want you tired. They want you exhausted. They want you struggling. And this is what this bill shows you. Unless in the next couple of days, Ashton Kutcher comes running out and goes, ah! Because that may happen. That may happen. I would bet on that being more likely than actual, like, oh, the Democrats are going to fight again. Shut your face. Shut your face. The Democrats are going to stand up and, shut the fuck up. No, they're not. They don't care about you. Most of them don't even know you or anybody like you. They don't give a fuck. The Republicans don't give a fuck. Something I'm going to go over on Redacted tonight. So there'll be a new Redacted tonight this Friday. Comes out this Friday night. And I'm going to go over the things that, if Biden did care, the things he could do on day one. I bet you were unaware he could give everyone Medicare for all on day one without Congress. He actually could. And I'm going to detail how on the next Redacted tonight, which will come out Friday. That goes up at youtube.com/redacted tonight. But this is, if you're watching this on that channel, please come over and subscribe at youtube.com/moment of clarity. That's my own personal channel as opposed to the TV show channel. So youtube.com/moment of clarity. By the way, I also am giving out 5 free signed copies of my book, Bullet Points and Punchlines. All you have to do to enter to win one of those is text the word redacted to 33777. It'll get you signed up to the free email list. All of this is free email list. And I'm going to pick 5 people to send free signed copies of my book, Bullet Points and Punchlines. And I have a new Rockfin channel with premium content over there, rokfin.com/Lee Camp. It also has free content. So rockfin.com/Lee Camp. And check out my podcast with Graham Elwood called Government Secrets. I have another podcast called Common Censored with Eleanor Goldfield. Please share this, let people know. And I do. I have a third podcast that's actually all of the audio from Redacted Tonight. So if you're more of a podcast person and you don't get to watch Redacted Tonight on the screens, you can get all of the audio of Redacted Tonight at the podcast called Moment of Clarity. I know that's a little confusing because this is Moment of Clarity, not Redacted Tonight. But anyway, if you look up the podcast Moment of Clarity, you'll find that it is Redacted Tonight, all the audio. So you can listen to Redacted Tonight if you don't have time to watch it. Please share this. Thanks a lot for hanging out with me. I hope everybody's doing well. Maybe I'll glance for one question here or comment. Holly makes a good point about they want us hating our neighbors, color of their skins, many other things, because they fear our power united. That's absolutely true. And part of the design that has been so effective of American society, but I realize it's not just American society, has been to get us all atomized, separated into our little tiny bubbles, and now they've created bubble filters online, so you also are separated online as well. But they, the whole house thing where you have your own little house with your own little family, and you're kind of not even really near people. I mean, yes, a lot of people live in the suburbs where they maybe have a house next door, but what, you wave at them once in a while. It's not actually a community. The idea of a community has kind of been trashed or disintegrated or beaten down. It's not really like heralded or spoken positively of. And that also is useful to the ruling elite, because the less community we have, the less we talk to each other, the less we unite, because our power united would be phenomenally powerful, phenomenally influential. But they've really they've mastered the divide and conquer thing. I mean, we're seeing it right now with the tearing apart of the left and progressives, where Jimmy Dore said we should fight for a Medicare for all vote, and now there's this massive fight amongst the left as to whether to fight for a Medicare for all vote. Which, if you disagree with the tactic, why not just not be a hateful, awful person? Why not just say I disagree with the tactic? Instead, people have decided to trash everyone involved with pushing for a Medicare for all vote. And by the way, if you still want to sign that petition, it already has 23,000 people on it. It's at forcethevote.org. It's created by the Movement for a People's Party. And but Force the Vote is not. Force the Vote is just about Medicare for all. Forcethevote.org, 23,000 people is pretty cool. Already signed up. All right, I'm going to get going, but unite, fight back, and talk about what the fuck's in this bill, because people need to know the truth. Keep fighting.